You are Locked On Vikings POSTCAST, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
A career day from Sam Darnold. 5 touchdowns. Vikings spoil Kirk Cousins' homecoming back to U.S. Bank Stadium. 42-21. What's going on? Back in the lab, back at it. Another Vikings postcast right here on the Locked On Sports Minnesota Network. Your team every day. Remember, you can always find this show on audio if you'd like to listen under the Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast feed, and on video, of course, on our Locked On Sports Minnesota YouTube channel. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe to keep up with all the action. All right, lots to get into today, fellas. Sam Darnold's career day, plus how the Vikings' 6-game winning streak continues. But first, quick reminder, today's episode brought to us by Prize Picks. Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play just 5. All right, Sam, Vikes win their 6th straight. They spoil Kirk's homecoming back to U.S. Bank. Sam Darnold has become the first Vikings quarterback to throw for 5 touchdowns in 2 decades. How we feeling? What are the vibes? What are your 8 topics, I guess, just to kick things off after this one?
How about a Carter Moss kind of day from the Vikings receivers? And Sam Darnold, playing the Cunningham role beautifully. How about bringing DeBomb back? Working the ball downfield. These aren't intermediate throws. These are bombs. And you got guys making adjustments, big plays downfield, acrobatic catches, fireworks, man. That was not under the ugly win classification that we'd gotten so used to. That was an offensive aerial circus. So fun. And that it comes against Kirk Cousins and Sam Darnold has that kind of day, man. Let's start there with the Addison, Jefferson, Darnold triumvirate today. How about that?
Yeah. What we add up before the show, before we got started? 15 catches, right? Combined 265 yards and 5 touchdowns between those two former first-round picks. I'd just like to point out, this is now game 6 of Wes Phillips down on the sideline. Remember when they made that change? They're 6-0.
Yeah.
Okay, they're 6-0, and we didn't really.
And how many
know
pre-snap penalties?
And
they've gone down so much.
That's what it was all about. It was all about the Detroit and the Rams loss. There was too much confusion, pre-snap motion stuff, penalties, like you just pointed out. I know a lot of that switch came down to the turnovers Sam Darnold was struggling with during those 2 games, and then even into the Jags game as well. But Luke, what vibe check right now? What's the vibe check offensively right now?
I mean, the vibes are on the moon, man. They scored 4 straight touchdowns to end that game. Like this, just the drive summary, right? Where you go punt, touchdown, that's the first half, and you're feeling okay about that. 14-point half, that's not bad. You doink the field goal coming out of halftime, and then the Falcons literally did not get another stop unless you count kneel downs. Touchdown. 6 of 9 non-kneel down possessions were touchdowns. That's an ass kicking. And at a certain point, I think the Falcons just kind of broke. Like it always feels like that when you have these like late surges where they kind of they went toe to toe for 3 quarters and then they didn't have a 4th one in them and they just kind of broke down. That's being a physical team, I think, helps with that. And the explosive hunting, eventually they just kind of couldn't mind their P's and Q's enough, and Darnold found enough explosives. But some of those plays, my God, the touchdown to Jefferson that he like rolled out and found it. I mean, like, my goodness, you would see every single analyst post that if Caleb Williams did that play. Where's that play in Chicago? Where's that play for some of these like exciting rookies and stuff? No way. The power of if, we do not need it. We have Sam Darnold.
That was a carbon copy of a Josh Dobbs play against the Falcons, I'm pretty sure, from last year. That was
Yeah, it was.
Can I just point out to that fact here, Sam? Let me just take that and run with it. That the fact, it was so funny watching Kirk Cousins on the same field. We watched Kirk Cousins for 6 years. Obviously, some phenomenal games, some great memories, a true pure pocket guy. To watch Sam Darnold, though, make those plays that Luke's talking about, extend the play. Kirk Cousins, we just didn't see that from him because that's not his style. We know that. What a breath of fresh air to watch Sam Darnold when the play breaks down. We haven't seen that in so long with a Vikings quarterback outside of the Josh Dobbs jokes, right? It's just so fun to watch this guy week in and week out make plays on his own because the first half of the season, it felt like just play within the confines of the system. You got a great play caller in KOC. You got great weapons. Now, all of a sudden, the last couple weeks, Chicago in overtime, 6 or 6 in overtime for 90 yards. The Cardinals game, you're down 2 scores going into the fourth quarter. Sam Darnold, I know we're not going to get into the MVP discussion, right? But come on now. At what point can we just stop the devil's advocate, I guess, with him and trying to cherry pick and nitpick and say, this guy can go win a couple games in the NFL playoffs? Do you not agree?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'll jump in.
What's to stop him? The Falcons defense? Because that might literally be the Falcons defense, and that worked out okay this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that you're going to see a pretty significant bump in the Sam Darnold MVP odds on FanDuel tomorrow morning. We'll talk
Sam
about
Darnold MVP odds. Sam Darnold MVP odds. Sam Darnold MVP. Just let that phrase wash over you. Sam Darnold MVP odds.
Who are we?
I mean, what's the split now? Touchdowns to interceptions. Are we at about 26-10? With a chance to go a chance to
4 games in a row now.
You could realistically go 35-12. 35-12 with what if they get 14 wins? You have to consider that guy for the MVP. Baltimore and Lamar Jackson's always going to be right there. If the Chiefs go 16-1, Mahomes is going to be right there, even though they win ugly every time. But you got to put him in the mix after this game. I think it was that good. It was incredible. And the Vikings just shredded that secondary, clearly by design. Clearly they knew that they were vulnerable. They haven't been able to do that against any other team this year to that extent, obviously. Gold standard kind of game from KOC and Sam.
Can I just try to find a devil's advocate here? Obviously, there was a big transition, losing Christian Darrisaw. I mean, I guess there's just no sugarcoating it, right? I think he had 19 sacks, Sam Darnold did, coming in this last 4 games. 4 more today? I want to say 4 more. But obviously, they keep finding ways to win. So all in all, Luke, let me throw this to you. How's the offensive line holding up with that massive shuffle we had a few weeks ago, getting Cam Robinson, and then plugging in Dalton Reisner for Ed Ingram at right guard? How's that whole thing shaping up?
Yeah, disaster class.
Yeah.
I mean, the total disaster, right?
Yeah.
I think Blake Brandel has had a couple of games to forget the last couple weeks. But then communication issues, just taking L's up front whenever you get a one-on-one, and it kind of doesn't matter which interior guy you get the one-on-one against. Bradbury taking L's, Reisner taking L's. The hit as he threw Darnold touchdown to Addison, I think it was the first touchdown, where it was kind of under. Reisner's getting walked back into his lap. I mean, it's a total disaster. And then you have a rough Brian O'Neill day on top of it. I think Cam Robinson might have been the only lineman that didn't have a struggle today. And I'm not even 100% sure of that. Didn't get a lot of push on the run. So a bit of an O-line disaster class, and it kind of just didn't matter, which a lot, Darnold's been under a low-key large amount of pressure this year, but it doesn't always get charted because it comes late in the down, and that's a feature of their offense. That's just what they've chosen to deal with all year. But also Darnold has evaded enough of that and erased enough of that. And just oh my God, comparing that to what was on the other side of the ball, what we dealt with 6 years, where the second there was any little bit of pressure, you no longer get to expect that anything good happens on that play. And you're just happy to get out with a throwaway. And it's no, this could still actually be a 52-yard touchdown if you have a guy with a little bit of gumption.
Yeah, 100%. First half blitz numbers per PFF, 3 for 5, 56 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, it started a little rocky, I guess, the first maybe series or two. He took back-to-back sacks on that first drive, but they weathered the storm. Darnold, again, continues to look like a guy who can go win a game or two in the playoffs. Running game, I guess maybe the other thing to just talk about. Again, Aaron Jones had 2 fumbles last week, held onto the ball this week. Things look a lot better when that running game's holding onto the ball. But are we concerned at all about just the running game? It was, again, just kind of ironic and maybe just a little eye-opening watching Bijan Robinson, a true workhorse, right? A top 10 overall pick last year, do what he did against the Vikings defense, which we'll get into the Vikings defense here in a second. But running game, concerned with that? Too much at all, Sam, or is it more the offensive line, the thing that you just maybe keeps you up a little bit at night when you think about this team in the playoffs?
Vikings running game actually ended up with a very efficient day. A lot of that, the 98-yard drive to clinch it was heavy on the run. The average ended up fantastic between Akers and Jones. The two of them were 18 for 110. I mean, that's a fantastic day on the ground, and it's the proof that help me with the cliche. You run when you win. You don't win when you run. So the Vikings get a lead, and then they salt it away with the run game. That's really how it should work with this offense and in the league in general. But use your electric passing game to build a lead. Use your running game to sit on that lead, extend drives, move the chains, kill the clock. That's exactly what they did. It worked.
How Zimmer won like 44 games in a row with a fourth quarter lead.
Yeah. I mean, there's some old school to it, but it works. And I thought it was really good today. Jones held on to the ball. Thank you very much. That was a very efficient. This is like a Green Bay Aaron Jones day where he gets 13 carries. 5.6 yards per carry, super efficient. Cam Akers comes in, gives you a little jolt. I like the Vikings offensive run game. You know, maybe we'll get to the defensive run game a little bit. I think it's buried by the way the offense played in the second half. Maybe would have come onto this show a little more upset with the defensive performance had they given up another touchdown maybe, or if this game had been closer, because they still look vulnerable against credible offenses. Fortunately, Kirk Cousins gave him some gifts. I'm sure we'll touch on that a little bit more.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, to your point, lots more to get into. Let's dissect that Flores versus Kirk Cousins kind of cat and mouse chess game a little bit more. Plus the biggest plays of the day I want to dive into. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, today's episode brought to us by Hillsdale College. Time is our most precious commodity. Don't waste it scrolling through the same mind-numbing content for hours on end. Right now, Hillsdale College, they're offering you 40 free courses, including Introduction to Free Market Economics and The Rise and Fall of the Roman Republic. And all of Hillsdale courses, they're self-paced, so you can start whenever and tune in wherever. Plus, you can go even further with readings, quizzes, discussions, or just enjoy their daily lectures. Right now, go to hillsdale.edu/lockdown to enroll. Absolutely no cost, and it's so easy to get started. Hillsdale.edu/lockdown to register. Go sign up today. Today's episode also brought to us by Prize Picks. Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app, now with more than 10 million members to date. For me and my money, guys, it's just by far the easiest. It's the most exciting way to get in on all the action while you watch your favorite sports and you watch your favorite players. It's so simple. All you got to do, you pick more or less on two or more player stats, and you watch the winnings roll in. Football season, we're getting into crunch time now. Things really heat up. So whether it's anytime touchdowns, receptions, tackles, sacks, you name it, they got it. Take your pick on more or less. Add them to your Prize Picks entry today. Last time I told you I loved Stafford under 262 versus the Eagles. Well, that hit. Tomorrow night, I'm loving Joe Burrow over 270 versus Dallas. He's averaging 44 pass attempts in his last 5 games. Plus, the Cowboys allow the 7th most passing yards per attempt in the entire league. So go check all that out. Plus, don't forget, Prize Picks now offers Apple Pay, quick and easy deposits into your account all season long. Right now, download the Prize Picks app. Use code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 instantly after your first $5 lineup. That's win or lose on any $5 lineup. You're getting $50 instantly with promo code LOCKEDONNFL. Prize Picks, run your game. Let's talk about that defense here a little bit. A little bit leaky, I guess. I mean, they've given up 400 yards or more in 5 of the last 6 games. The big plays is just kind of part of the DNA, if you will, of this Brian Flores aggressive scheme. You know, they've been great, bend but don't break as of late. Obviously, last week versus the Cardinals, 1 of 6, the Cardinals were in the red zone, so that was huge. But today, almost 500 yards for Atlanta, 140 on the ground. I want to say it was 138 rushing for Atlanta today. But Sam, what part of this defense, I guess, if any, makes you the most concerned? Again, I'm starting to really put my mindset into playoff football now and picturing what this might all look like come January.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you ran through the schedule and you said, all right, that team knows how to run the ball, that team knows how to run the ball, and you compare the Vikings' performance against those teams, the run game's been much more ordinary. Now, I'll have to find the data to back that up. It feels that way. It feels like Arizona had intentionality with running the ball, and they did it. Obviously, Detroit did. I guess I don't know if you classify I'm trying to remember the Rams game better, if the Rams were really able to move the ball on the ground. But when teams have wanted to run the ball.
They gashed him.
Yep. Now it's coming back to me.
Yeah.
That's been probably more of a weak spot than the numbers would represent, while at the same time, the pass defense isn't as bad as the numbers would represent because teams throw the ball a lot more against the Vikings. They're trailing more against the Vikings. But there are still soft zones at times that worry you when Kirk Cousins can have the first half that he had. I think we saw life without Stephon Gilmore today. Maybe there's a little more susceptibility in Shaq Griffin covering one-on-one. I thought he also made some very good plays today. Probably should have had an interception as well. So I'm not going to rip too hard on Shaq. But, I mean, Braun, you've been on this as well with this defense with some susceptibilities late in the first half. Again, they kind of caved and gave up 3 points. What did you think about it today, Braun?
I think they got killed in the trenches until the end. It's like the first 3 quarters, it felt like, the Falcons have the advantage in the trenches. The Vikings have the advantage at quarterback. Let's see how it plays out. But like that definitely went the Falcons' way for a while until really that last drive when it was, okay, now we're just chewing clock and it's kind of over. And the Falcons just sort of packed it in. I think they just kind of they're down 3 scores, like whatever, right? And then you've got a little bit more push on them. But yeah, I think the run defense, I don't think I agree with it. I think it's been really, 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 really strong. You've had great play from Bullard, great play from Harrison Phillips. The Redmond thing this week is really interesting. That he got a couple of these splash plays, but I also think a couple of those big Bijan runs where it was a huge hole, I think he got washed out a few times. So I'm very curious to see, because sometimes I just mix up who that could be Jerry Tiller, that could be just totally, absolutely wrong. So I want to look at it, but even if that's true, that's probably still a game you're pretty happy with the splash plays. Is probably worth a few not so great plays in run defense. And then, the moment I keep thinking of is Josh Metellus hitting Tyler Algier in the hole, bouncing off of him. It's
Sendejo.
If that's a linebacker,
you can still hear that crack. You can still hear the echo of that crack, that collision on TV.
That's a safety trying to be a linebacker. Just pure as day. If that's even an undersized linebacker like Ivan Pace, who I'm pretty sure still has 10 pounds at a lower center of gravity on Josh Metellus, that's an easy tackle, and we're never talking about it. But
that was a $185 DB at Michigan about 6 years ago.
Yeah,
that's the top 10
it's just not enough room, man.
Texas,
it's not your job.
In the hole,
go get your interception. That's what. Go get your beautiful pass breakup thing on Kyle Pitts. That's not what we need. It's what we need you to do right now, but. Hopefully we can get a little bit more out of Kamu, maybe get more out of Jamin Davis, who gets a sack in this one.
Right.
Only sack.
Get a linebacker at linebacker.
Well, let's take that a step further, because I was going to ask you, just injury woes. Ivan Pace out with the hammy, Gilmore out. Sam, you kind of touched on that. How do you guys think the replacements do, just from what you saw? Knee-jerk reaction. We haven't watched the game back or anything like that. And any other injuries I may have missed today. Felt like a pretty clean game as far as that goes.
Yeah, super important.
Clean game.
Yep, really clean game. I mean, sometimes things pop up after the fact. You never know.
Yep,
but
right.
I would say they're not replacing Ivan Pace apples to apples at all. I mean, they're using a little bit of Jamin Davis. We saw a little bit of Asamoah today in garbage time. It's a lot of Josh Metellus playing down in the box. Like there's not really an Ivan. There is no player like Ivan Pace, and they don't force people into that role. Yeah. Because a lot of people just can't do Ivan Pace things, and some people do things better than Ivan Pace. I think I don't think we saw that much Moreau today. Did you guys? I felt like they kind of buried Moreau a little bit. He was clearly
more big nickel, more free safety, and just have Shaq and Byron Murphy out there as corners. Mm-hmm. But Byron Murphy playing outside all day, which is not necessarily the most comfortable for him, but he did fantastic.
Let's bring in.
Ron.
Sorry. Yeah, let's just bring in Ron Johnson now. Ron, we're talking defense now. All week we talked about the fact that Kirk Cousins, kind of one of the only quarterbacks that's faced this Brian Flores scheme in practice every single day just last year. So after watching everything, I guess, just kind of play out the way it did, what'd you see as far as that kind of cat and mouse chess game, the way they attack Kirk Cousins, knowing his strengths and weaknesses like they did, but kind of a unique situation where both sides knew their opponents somewhat inside and out, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had Blake Cashman on the Ron Johnson show, and he talked about that. He kind of said, you know what, they know each other. Like, he knows Harrison Smith. Harrison Smith knows him. He knows what Brian Flores is like scheme wise.
Yeah.
And Brian Flores also went to Kevin O'Connell a bunch and said, hey, what confuses Kirk? And I think that was the key. Like Cashman was dead on. You could tell they were trying to rattle him as much as possible. There were plays like Josh Metellus, if he turns the right way and understands the guy on the outside ran the stop route, he could have had another interception. So there's a lot of little things here and there to hit, but at the end of the day, it was the offense. The offense was the story of this game. The defense did just enough, but the offense, like nobody expected 42 points besides me, because on the pregame show, that was one of our questions. Are the Vikings going to score more than 27 points today? And I said, yeah, a lot of people didn't understand it. They didn't see it. Don Mitchell and Mark Rosen. Oh no, they're not going to score 26. It's going to be a low scoring game. Okay. Like I felt like Sam Darnold, knowing that, the ex-girlfriend was walking back into the stadium, he wanted to make sure that he looked really, really pretty, so that he would understand, like, hey, look, they don't miss you, man. And I think that's why even the crowd, like, it was funny how in stadium, every single time Sam Darnold did something, the announcer kept announcing Sam Darnold's stats, and the crowd erupted every single time because they were trying to really, and they kept showing Darnold and Jefferson on the sideline together, and the crowd would get loud. And I mean, at one point, like you saw Josh McCown have to quiet the crowd down because say, hey, look, man, we're about to go back out there. You guys got to relax. But they were pushing that narrative of like Sam Darnold versus Justin Jefferson, or sorry, Sam Darnold, Justin Jefferson versus Kirk Cousins, and it was great to see. So I got to give my hats off to the offense because nobody expected 42 points.
100%. That will be the A topic all week, and we'll be breaking down all the nuts and bolts, all the meat and potatoes on this game on the Football Party Monday and Thursday. Check out Ron on the Ron Johnson Show on Tuesday. But just, this is the postcast. Just knee-jerk, what is maybe one or two of the biggest plays, kind of the biggest turning points that stuck out to you guys when we look back on Atlanta versus the Vikes? That Drake London, Shaq Griffin play at the time kind of felt like, okay, is this going to loom large? It was 3rd and 12. Looked like an interception, but tie goes to the runner, I guess. So
I maintain that was a bad call.
Yeah,
that was a bad review call.
I do.
If you see the defender has possession before the receiver wrestles it away, basically now, like, the defense counts as the offense. The second Shaq Griffin has possession and Drake London doesn't, that's now Vikings ball, and now it's offense. You get simultaneous possession after that. It's basically whoever had it first. And you could see pretty clearly Shaq Griffin, 2 hands on the ball, Drake London, 1 hand on Shaq Griffin's hands. That's not possession, man.
Right, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I felt like that kind of balanced out the holding on the field goal attempt.
Oh yeah, a couple of really ticky-tack holds after they missed a couple blatant ones early. So I wonder if somebody had a little something to say and they got a little oversensitive to it.
Falcons 12 penalties, 127. I mean, it was a Titans-esque performance from a penalty standpoint. Not as many damaging penalties, I guess, but yeah, it felt like there were a lot of turning points actually until the Vikings just blew the game open.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
It felt like there were going to be, because think about it, it's 21-21. You've given up a TD, 2-point conversion. How much was left in the game at that point? Was that late third quarter?
That sounds right. Yeah,
you're in crunch time.
Yeah.
The game's tied, and you mount a drive to go down and score. I want to say the Vikings scored touchdowns on like 4 third-down plays today. At least 4 or 5 were third-down plays, including the bomb to Jefferson, including the first Jefferson touchdown. Tough throws, long conversions. And Darnold made it happen. Just some money throws. And I think that the maybe only behind the 97-yard bomb to Jefferson, and it might even pass it. That's the play of the year for the Vikings, I think, is the scramble and touchdown to JJ. That's
and Sam, no, the 21-21 was basically the end of the third quarter.
Yeah.
So they had a full fourth quarter to go. I mean, it was not a lot of time left. So it was a fourth quarter. It was a second half explosion. I think they said 97 yards in the first half, 250 in the second half. Like they just absolutely went nuts in the second half. I mean, I even tweeted the stats for the halftime, and I said it's amazing that the game is tied right now. Or I think I did it right at that moment in the third quarter. I was like, it's amazing because time of possession was Falcons, yards was Falcons, everything was Falcons except for penalties. It was like 9 penalties to 2. And I think that was the one thing that kept the Vikings in that game. And so I'm like, even plays, I think it was like 50-something plays to 34 or something. It was crazy, the difference in that, like at the end of that third quarter. And for the Vikings to be where they were. And then, of course, we saw what happened, interception, big play here and there in the Vikings offense. But my play, because to Luke's question, play that stands out to me, it still has got to be Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson's deep ball touchdowns. Because both of those, like, it just changed the scope. And Justin was wide open. I don't know what the DB was doing. Like, he ran and was chasing, and then he thought Justin ran a corner route. I have no idea what he was doing. And then he falls to the ground. It was like a cartoon. It was like watching, if Tom and Jerry were to play football. And,
with the sound effect, with that cartoon
correct.
sound effect. Yep.
And then, the Jordan Addison one, same thing. Just absolutely bad ball. Like, everybody, when he threw it, everybody's like, oh my God, it's about to be an interception. And the DB just keeps going. And Jordan Addison just turns, catches it. And then even he turns around like, wait a minute, there's nobody standing here. And he walks to the end zone. So those two plays to me are two of the biggest plays of the game. Because those are things that when you look at the stats, you're going to be like, oh, what? But those two plays, like, that's just bad defense by the Falcons.
Just real quick, again, yeah, you're right. The offense is going to get all the flowers. It's funny, last week, I don't think it was the first game no offensive player got a game ball last week. And now this week, who knows, maybe all three of those game balls go to the offense. Real quick, though, you're going to watch this play back when you rewatch the game. It's going to get washed over throughout the week, but Falcons march down the field. They go up 7-0. Their second drive, they're already in Vikings territory again. They haven't touched Kirk Cousins up to this point. They're just effortlessly marching up and down the field. Dallas Turner was the one who finally stopped the bleeding and got a little bit of momentum and got a big quarterback hit on Kirk Cousins. Next play, Cashman got a pressure. He got a deflection on third down. They go for it on fourth down. Shaq Griffin, pretty good coverage. It's incomplete. But Dallas Turner was the one who finally said, okay, enough's enough. I thought he had a really nice first half. He kept popping up a little bit in that first half. Maybe disappeared a little bit in that second half, just from what I saw. But some good things to keep building on for Dallas Turner, for sure.
I have a theory on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think so. The way that whenever that happens, when something is happening for the first 10 or 15 plays of a game and then just stops for the rest, it's got to be an adjustment happened, right?
Yeah.
And I wonder if the way the Falcons were protecting, because of the way the Vikings love to string out 5-6 on the line of scrimmage, I think they were doing more sliding, trying to help those offensive line. They've been struggling a lot, and I think the Vikings were running blitzes kind of right into those slides and getting just caught up in the wash of bodies. So I think they changed the way that they were pass rushing, because then suddenly you had a linebacker in every single play, either on the running back or just straight up coming. So I wonder if they changed, instead of blitzing A gaps to B gaps or something like that, to kind of try to punish 5 and 4 man slides, maybe even C gaps.
Yeah, well said.
How about and one more point just on turning points.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of Raheem Morris? Kind of going anti-Campbell. Getting very
took some heat by Greg Olsen for sure.
Yeah, Greg Olsen was all over it. He goes
for not going for the chip shot 4th and 2, the and a half.
So yeah. Well,
no, they were out of time there.
Two that came to mind from the goal line, from the 2-yard line. They kick a field goal, and on 4th and 2, after the Vikings special teams penalty, they take a delay of game and punt it again.
Oh, yeah, that whole debacle.
Two very bizarre first half decisions that I think could have changed the complexion.
Yeah, for sure.
They were moving the ball well enough where they could have just gone for that, for sure.
Absolutely.
I don't know why you...
It got a little Cardinals-y, where the Falcons were moving the ball better in the first half and settled for field goals. It felt like last week. And, you can't do that against the Vikings in that building.
I wonder if they were hoping for a specific look, and they said, well, let's line up for a play. If we get the look we want, we'll run it, and if not, we'll take our delay. I wonder if it was more like that, rather than just saying, oh, let's go try to get him offsides. I feel like a lot of times you have something in the holster that you will run, but only if you get the right look.
Who is that offsides on, by the way? Because I saw a hand over the line, and I was like,
CJ Ham.
Oh, it's on CJ. Okay. All right. Yeah. CJ gets a free pass.
A couple times where Fox had to hustle back from break.
Walter Payton gets a free pass, yeah.
All right, couple minutes left. Our unsung hero from today's game, plus where the Vikings stack up in the NFC. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, today's episode brought to us by FanDuel. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, they're giving you a chance at a huge return with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 wager wins. Why I love FanDuel? Because when you get the hunch in the middle of the game, you can go check out the latest stats, you can view live play-by-play, and so much more, all on the same page where you place your bets. Again, $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 wager wins. If it were me, I'd be looking at a heavy favorite money line to get my bonus bets. Just for example, Philly was 14-point favorites today. That would have been a nice strategic pick. Go check it all out over at FanDuel.com. Check out on some Sunday night football action while you're there. We got Chiefs-Chargers tonight in KC. Current spread, Chiefs by 4. Over-under sitting at 42.5. Again, check it all out over at FanDuel.com and get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 wager wins. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. By the way, full deep dive from this one on the Minnesota Football Party with our guy Arif Hassan. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, keep up with all the action. Again, that's every Monday, every Thursday. All right, someone give me an unsung hero. Just shout out a guy you want to give some flowers to, maybe a little bit of spotlight that might get a little overshadowed. Jamin Davis, the linebacker with the only sack today. I thought that was a pretty solid one.
I'll take one from the chat from Death Rosenstock. Special teams turnover. How about Brian Asamoah?
Yeah,
Oh,
You want to talk about a turning point in the game? How about touchdown drive? Fumble forced on the kickoff from BA,
Huge.
and then touchdown. And then suddenly the whole game is just out of control.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah, and
That's
I say
an
the
absolute
combo
great
of that is C.J. Ham got the recovery, so like he made up for the offside.
Nice. There you go.
Because I think that was, and then the crowd. That was another time where Sam Darnold had to, or when they got the ball back, you saw another like shut up. We're trying to work because everybody started.
It's on Randall, like everybody chill.
Yeah, everybody was chanting.
It's too electric.
C.J. Ham, C.J. Ham, C.J. Ham, and so they were trying to like. I get it, like 'cause they were showing C.J. on the thing. He's a Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee for the Vikings. And so with all that, they were just trying to get it going. And yeah, they're like, dude, we got to go out here and score. Y'all got to chill out, like celebrate after this. So I'd say that one. Also, another one for me too, Dalton Reisner. Like we haven't said his name at all when it comes to like blowing a block, getting a sack his way. I know Brando had one go his way. And it looked like there was maybe a little bit of confusion on who was supposed to block who. But for Dalton Reisner to step up and just get in there, like he has not been a problem. Like he's been giving Sam Darnold a lot of like time to throw the ball. And also even when Sam Darnold starts to run, you see him looking to like hit somebody. And I think that's what you need. You need a nasty, dirty person on the offensive line sometimes. And he gives you that.
Yeah, good breakdown there for sure. Good call out. NFC picture, by the way, it's getting a little bit clearer. 4 weeks left. Lions, Eagles in this top tier. It's kind of a hodgepodge in tier 2. Washington, Green Bay, Seattle, Arizona. They play each other right now at 3:25, I want to say. Are the Vikings closer to the top tier with the Lions and Philly, or in tier 2 in your opinion? Or are they kind of no man's land, kind of smack dab in between both tiers? Like, Ron, how good are the Vikings? They've won 6 straight, but everybody before this game was saying, oh, they've only beat someone by double digits once. Well, now it's twice. So where's the confidence meter?
And both
at
those
right now
teams
with the
leading their
Vikings?
divisions, by the way. that
Correct.
They crushed.
Yes.
I think
correct.
Houston and Giants would be 2 right there. So
Yeah, in their
within
last
3.
6. Yeah, in their
in the
last
last 6. Got it.
Yep.
Yep.
Mhm,
Yep.
mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm struggling to say top tier because the Lions just look really good. Like the Lions and the Eagles both look really good. And the difference in those two teams and the Vikings is their run game. Like their run game is scary where no matter what the weather is, I feel like the Lions and the Eagles can travel and they can run the ball down your throat. I don't know if the Vikings are that team. Like the run game to me does not look great all the time. I think the dirty end of the game work by Cam Akers is just going to be padded stats that we don't understand what was going on at that point. But you could tell the Falcons had kind of given up. I think the Vikings put backups in the game on defense. I was wondering if Michael Penix was going to get in the game. I don't think the Falcons wanted to do that to Kirk, though. Like that would have been like the absolute kick in the butt to say like, all right, man, we're down 3 scores. Let's just sit down, because that would have given the crowd too much energy if he had done that.
Mm-hmm. How about the playoff watch? Vikings could clinch the playoffs in about 2 hours here. Seahawks winning. That's what they need. Bills and Rams tied. Vikings want the Bills. They could be in the playoffs by 6:30 p.m.
Boy, unbelievable. Yeah, again, just kind of, I think it was Greg Olson who mentioned it. Vikings just kind of banging their heads on the wall here. Just happened to be, an unbelievable season. Overachievers. The year the Lions just look almost perfect to some degree, but also the NFC North specifically just turns out to be this historically good division that just
I love it.
Kind of came out of nowhere, maybe to some people, although some people preseason expectations thought this division was going to take a big jump for sure.
I love it. You're going to have the chance yourself.
Right.
In all likelihood.
That's all
right?
you
like
want, right?
All you want is a chance. You're going to have to go on the road. You're going to have to play maybe the Falcons, maybe an NFC West team. You're going to have to go on the road and play somebody unless the Lions fall off with their hurt defense here.
Yep.
But then if you win that game, you very likely get a chance, either us or the Packers, get a chance to go into Ford Field and say, no. Directly to their face and say, no, you don't get the coronation. There is still a power here. I love it that it is so in their own hands.
Correct. Control your own destiny for
collision
sure.
course for an NFC North battle in maybe the divisional and
I could see
NFC
it.
championship game. Could
That'd be
have
so
back-to-back.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Well,
epic.
let's say they beat the Lions just real quick. So the head-to-head is tied. Then it goes to conference wins, correct? It goes to conference wins is the second tiebreaker.
Which is also destined to be tied, and then common games would favor the Lions right now. So the Vikings need.
You need a division win. The Bears need to beat the Lions, basically, or you just need the Lions to take an L here to the Bills, and then you can go into their house and beat them in Week 18. Week 18.
Got it.
Yeah,
for
but you
sure.
need a little help. They have to slip up one time before Week 18, and obviously the Vikings have to keep winning.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, another NFC North battle next week. Vikes Bears again already on prime time, Monday Night Football. I don't know if my blood pressure can survive another one of these Vikings Bears, especially on prime time game. Obviously, we'll be breaking it down on the football party, but just a quick 30 seconds left here or so. Final parting thoughts. Unload the clip. Ron, we still got Ron parting thoughts before we get out of here. Vikings dominate Kirk Cousins, spoil his homecoming. Sam Darnold career game. Vikes Bears on primetime next week. Parting thoughts. What do you got?
Yeah, no, just Monday night is going to be electric. Caleb Williams is going to get another shot indoors, weather-wise. It doesn't matter. So I think this is going to be Brian Flores' chance to really blow out the Bears. Like, he has to solidify this defense is good. If the Bears find a way to creep in and do what they do on Monday night sometimes and shock the Vikings, then everybody's going to be mad all over again. So you guys have a good one.
All right, Ron.
Thanks, Ron.
Appreciate it, Ron. Ron, check him out every Tuesday on the Ron Johnson Show. Sam, Luke, parting thoughts, unload the clip. Final 30 seconds here. Again, a career day from Sam Darnold, JJ and Addison, looking like Moss and Carter 2.0 today.
I got to give Byron Murphy quick shout out. One-handed interception. Very
insane.
Very nice.
We got on the momentum. Ball's got to come out to the one thing again. Come on, man.
There's a couple times we came back from commercial break and I was so confused. One was what we were talking about, the offsides on the punt, and I'm like, wait, they're going for it? I'm like, dude, I watched Red Zone for 30 seconds and I missed something. And then, the Byron Murphy pick, and all of a sudden we're at the 2-yard line for sure. But, absolutely phenomenal interception. Does he lead the team in interceptions this year?
Has to. That's got to be
6. He's like top 5 in the league.
Wow.
With 6.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. It's insane.
Unbelievable.
Broadcast really hanging a fantastic Greg Olsen performance out to dry. With cutting to it wrong and missing out on the narratives. I think they had a little more Kirk Cousins being good content prepared than they were able to use. I got that sense.
Yeah.
Not a great day for Fox, but Greg Olsen kind of stuck, kind of Calvin Johnson on those old Lions.
If we're nitpicking, the score bug operator for down and distance was having a tough time.
Was that guy having a tough time?
It's
tough. It's actually like 1st and 18, and they've got 2nd and 8, or it's third down. When
last week it was the chain gang guy who took a hit, and he had to be carted off. This week it's the scoreboard officiator. And now we got the Bears next week on Monday Night Football. So hopefully, let's just pray they get they get all that stuff cleaned up. Vikings win their 6th in a row.
One thing in the chat.
Go ahead.
I want to mention Lions' second toughest and Vikings' 4th toughest remaining schedules. A lot to do with that is that they play each other.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, I suppose when you get
all coming down, man.
Small sample size, 4 games.
Ramping up to a climax.
Yeah, unbelievable. Boy, I can't wait for that. Vikes, again, they win their 6th in a row. Sam Darnold, career day, 5 touchdowns. JJ and Addison looking like Moss and Carter 2.0. Kirk Cousins homecoming, sorry, man, is spoiled. Final score, 42-21. Huge shout out to all the everydayers out there that always make us your first listen. Again, check out Ron on the Ron Johnson Show every Tuesday. Luke always crushing her over on Locked On Vikings. Sam Ekstrom, he's the captain of the Minnesota Football Party. Again, that's every Monday. It's every Thursday. So make sure you make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. December 16th, that will be Vikings Bears Monday Night Football. Back at the bank. Should be another great one. We'll see you next time. But until then, signing out.